Tuesday, June 9th to order. It is 6:34. Lisa, roll call. Present.
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 Great. And before we get started, I do want to recognize that we do have Councilman Wade in the audience. Thank you for coming. And with that, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Irving, would you please lead us? Okay. And item D, adoption of the agenda. Do we have any motions or amendments?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I don't have a mouse here. All right, call to the public. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate, pursuant to board policy KFA. And I have one card. Evan Grace? Just tap the front of it. You can tell if it's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Just bring it real close. There you go.
Good evening, members of the board and to our community members. My name is Evan Grace, and I am here to tell you about a sock drive that I'm starting up to help our Maricopa boost our mothers in sending packages to our military members. It will run from June 7th to June 30th, and the drop-off locations are Copa Craze, Ace Hardware, Copper Sky, the new Copa office, headquarters, Ultrastar, CrossFit 347, and Chris K. Hall, American Family Insurance Agency. Also, the Maricopa Library will be holding a box on the week of June 29th. I would also like to thank all of our drop-off location volunteers for stepping up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All right, superintendent's report. Dr. Chestnut.
Thank you, President Coutret, members of the governing board. A few things to report on tonight. Got a great picture there from graduation. The festivities start in the gym. I don't know if everybody realizes that, but that's where the seniors gather before the big event. We had hoped to give congratulations to new MUSD governing board member Rhonda Melvin tonight. We had planned to have an oath of office ceremony at 6 o'clock, but she was ill today and is not able to attend. So we haven't rescheduled it yet. Hopefully it'll be 6 o'clock prior to the next board meeting, which I believe is June 24th. So that's a tentative plan, but I'll send that out as soon as that is official. Wanted to bring you up to date on a few things that we've been working on. You may have heard about this. Working on our 301 performance-based compensation plan awards. And as you know, teachers have an opportunity to earn that performance-based compensation over the course of the school year. And then final determinations are made at the end of the school year, and then that money goes out in a lump sum. And I believe the payout this year is somewhere around $2,500. Mr. Roush, is that correct? $2,900. So it's gone up a bit over the last several years, which is nice. That's the 100% payout. Now, you'll also remember that we instituted a new procedure in allocating that 301 performance pay this year. So teachers that are rated highly effective or effective receive 100% payout, the $2,900. Partially effective is 75% of that, and ineffective is 0. And this is the first year that we have implemented that 301 performance pay plan. That proposal was developed by the 301 committee that Mr. Beckett headed up about a year ago. And it received over 70% of yes vote, approval rating from teachers who were asked to vote on that. And all teachers were given the opportunity to vote on that proposal. But this is the first year we've implemented it. It's the first year that you could receive less than 100% if you were partially effective. So there's been a little bit of controversy, but I do want to point out that our numbers, our percentages are very similar to last year. And I also want to point out particularly to the audience and maybe people watching on TV, is that we have a small number, relatively small number of teachers rated as highly effective. 18 last year, 4 this year. And that is actually by design of the system. Really, the goal of all of our teachers is to be effective, and to be rated highly effective is extremely difficult. And that's what we want. We want a rigorous system where we're challenging even our best teachers to improve and to continue to improve. And that is a new culture shift for us. We have a lot of high-achieving people, and they're used to being rated at the top of the scale, right? They've always been good students, and they still are. But I think even our best teachers, our master teachers, our nationally board-certified teachers, I would estimate that they're going to be rated highly effective overall, maybe once every 3 to 5 years. It's just not something that you can achieve every year. And, sometimes it depends on the mix of students you have in your class and that kind of thing. But one third of the evaluation is based on student academic achievement. And that's a state law. And so it's a kind of a new way of doing business statewide. This is really a national process that's been going on. There really was a recognition that we had too many teachers rated at the highest level of the scale, and very few people were receiving honest feedback. And that was a national problem, it was a state problem, it's a problem in our district. So I think we've made some good strides. But as you can imagine, the 96 people that are rated partially effective this year, they're like not real happy about that. And we actually have some very good teachers in that category. And for whatever reason, maybe they had a tough group of students that they weren't able to move as far and as fast as they had hoped, or whatever. They probably expected to be rated as effective and are not. We have a governing board policy that says if anybody's evaluation results in loss of compensation, there is an appeal process. And so teachers in that category who would be partially effective or ineffective, right, because that's where you would actually lose money here, they can appeal that, and it says it goes to the superintendent, and then I have to make a decision on that. And so there is a timeline on there. We actually extended the timeline. I believe it was 10 days from when they got their evaluations, but we knew this was kind of a new thing, so we extended that, and we're accepting appeals through the end of the week. So I have a stack of them on my desk. So these numbers may change a little bit, and I'll keep you posted on that. But I think that it's a good process. It is not a perfect process. We've tweaked the evaluation tool, this year compared to last year, and we will tweak it again for next year. And we're kind of learning as we're going here, but we were part of the Arizona Department of Education pilot on how to implement this, and it has been a rocky road, to be totally honest. It's been controversial. It's caused some heartburn with our teachers and with our principals, but I think we're making good progress, and I think we'll end up with a good system. And I won't say I'm real happy, totally happy with our evaluation system now, but I think we did our very best, and it was approved by over 70% of the staff. So anyway, I'll keep you informed on this. Yes. Also, just to make one final point, principal evaluations are in a similar way, right? 1/3 of their evaluation score is based on improvements in student achievement and student growth. So I supervise and evaluate all the principals, so that's something I've been working on very closely with them for the last several years as well. Okay, moving on. Just to report that I had the parent coffee on June 3rd. I had the right date on there finally, and we had a good meeting. But the thing that was unique about it is a teacher sent me an email and said, hey, why don't you videotape that and then show it on Channel 18 and put it on YouTube? And so it was really the perfect meeting to do that, because I pretty much summarized our accomplishments for the year. And you've seen all those slides, but not everybody in town has. So that is a very popular show. I hear it's very highly rated on Channel 18. And so it'll be on a continuous loop all summer, but it's good, I think, good PR for our district and good news that's going on. And in truth, there's only about 6 people in the audience, but I did it all from the podium, so you would think there's got to be at least 100 people there. I wouldn't need to stand behind the podium, but Anyway, we had a good discussion in the morning and the evening session. If you weren't here, you can still see it on Channel 18 or YouTube. Yesterday, Tori Anderson and I had a meeting with Senator Smith and talked about the Arizona School Board proposal. You'll probably want to tell more about that. We also talked about other items of interest, like the possibility that we would have to pay back charter school funding and other things that we're concerned about. And we appreciated him coming and talking to us and thought it was a good meeting. And that's all I have to report on.
I was waiting.
Dr. Chestnut and I met with Senator Smith yesterday, just in case you didn't know.
Jeez, thanks for letting
8 o'clock in the morning, I still had my pajamas on, but I was there.
And coffee?
No
No,
coffee,
she doesn't
No
drink
coffee?
coffee.
lots of water.
That's good.
I was encouraged, first of all, he took time to meet with us, so thank you, Dr. Miller, for sending that email to him. But I think he was receptive. I think he listened. It was nice to be able to have that conversation. And the main topic was talking about our board proposal for the ASB Legislative Committee and trying to get all the public money. Anybody who accepts it has to follow the same rules. His concern with that was it's too much to tackle at one time. I don't know why, so he had some suggestions on how to break it down. So he is going to talk to his cohorts and to his analysts and figure out if there are some ways we can chisel away at those guidelines and try to eventually, make it that if anybody accepts public funds, they have to accept the same rules regardless of what type of school you are. So. And our take on it was, taxpayer accountability, because Senator Smith is a, champion for taxpayer accountability. So it was a nice way to get that conversation going. He also talked a lot about the teacher compensation plan. And it was nice to be able to share what our district has done, because he wasn't aware that anybody was even doing that yet. So it was nice. I think that he was impressed, and Dr. Chestnut, I think you're going to send him that, aren't you? Yeah. So, he was encouraged that somebody was actually doing that because he didn't realize. So that was also a very good conversation to have with him. And he said he was, going to try to help us as much as possible, since all of Pinal County is his district. And we've been in touch with several of the other Pinal County districts, and they also put forth the same legislative ideas that we did. So, there's strength in numbers, but it was nice to be able to meet with him and have that conversation, and I appreciate Dr. Chestnut taking the lead on that and bringing forth some statistics of, schools who are impoverished and, not able to have the same things that Maricopa County or bigger school districts have. So it was a good conversation. That's it.
Well, Tori and I will be going up tomorrow,
Yes.
Flagstaff, for the ASBA Summer Leadership Institute, so that'll be fun. And we always come back with a bunch of stuff, and it's so good to network with all these other board members, hear what they're doing, seeing how, and they listen to us too, because a lot of them are now looking to us to see what we're doing and how that can help with their district, especially even with this legislative agenda that we've submitted. A lot of districts are now looking to us as leaders, and it's kind of fun. But we'll bring back some information. We'll share it with all of you. I look forward to it. And I was able to be part of the evening coffee with Dr. Chestnut. So it was fun to listen to him. And some of the slides, though, I hadn't seen. There was a couple that I hadn't seen, so it was good. Yeah, I know. It was good. Anybody else?
Yes, I would just like to announce that I'm aware that there's a non-for-profit 501c3 in town called Esperanza Maricopa, and I'm aware that they have submitted a grant to Hoda Odom Nation for their gambling funds to help fund some behavioral health professionals within the school district and other schools within Maricopa and the surrounding community. So hopefully, a lot of the grants are very competitive, so hopefully, that can help provide some behavioral health in the future.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, I'll start it off and just give a brief overview of where we are and some of the issues we're continuing to face as we finalize the budget, and be glad to answer any questions that people might have. And I think the guys in the back have some slides, and they're ready to put them on at any moment, because as you know, I can't talk without slides. Wanted to remind you about the Spending by Operational Area report that is published annually by the Arizona Office of the Auditor General. And this report gets a lot of publicity. Governor Ducey talked a lot about this report this year. And you can see the way the pie is divided up there. So these were our most recent official results. The 14-15 school year results aren't available yet because we're still in the middle of that, or at the end of that year. But last year, we spent 47% of our budget on instruction. And you can see the other categories there. And so it's interesting to look at those numbers, and obviously our goal would be to increase the instructional piece of the pie. That's often called the classroom portion. And I think we'll make some minor progress on that with this proposed budget. Not a lot, but hopefully that would inch up a bit. The state on the instruction piece of the pie is somewhere around 51%. And so one reason we're low on that side of the pie is that we don't have an override in place, and that's typically where the vast majority of override funds go. But still, it's something we want to keep our eye on and keep working on. So as I said, if you really look at it in the two categories, it's classroom dollars and non-classroom dollars. And it's not just classroom dollars and administration. Just to remind you, administration is 9.8% of the pie. Also, the definitions of the different areas are kind of interesting, and I think that there are a lot of items in red that most people would agree you can't operate classrooms without these people, like counselors, nurses, speech pathologists, librarians, security, and obviously you could even put custodial staff and maintenance staff. I mean, there's a lot of positions up there that you couldn't run a school district without those people. You couldn't operate classrooms. So it's not as segmented as maybe the pie chart implies, but still, it's a tracking mechanism on costs and expenses. Also, I did want to point out, too, that our administrative costs are low. The state of Arizona as a whole is very low nationally, and we're even lower in the state. We spend around $680 per student for administration. The state averages about $760, and districts our size are even higher than that. Our administrative cost per student actually went down in 13-14 compared to the previous year. And so we run a lean operation with administration. So anyway, those are just some numbers that get a lot of publicity, and just thought I'd mention those. Also, another question that's hanging out there, I took this selfie actually, that's me behind the question mark. Possible repayment of district-sponsored charter funding. That is an issue that's still hanging out there. As I understand the legislation, the intention was to not have us repay that money because we didn't end the contract. The legislature ended the 15-year contract, but it did not make it into final bill language, is my understanding, and we have not received a bill for this yet. I do think the legislature will correct this problem, and as I mentioned before, we talked to Senator Smith about this, but it is a little bit of a cloud that's still hanging over our head. So we have not made allowance for that in this year's budget because we think it's going to go away. If it doesn't, we're going to have to deal with it at some point in the future. I wanted to give you a recap of where we're at, budget committee recommendations, how those compare to our proposed budget that was just approved. So number one budget committee recommendation was to retain all staff from grant funds. To do all that would have cost $540,000. We are retaining staff, and so not all of them, but about $186,000 worth out of the M&O budget, out of the proposed budget. That would include 1.5 special ed teachers, a gifted teacher, and yeah, so that's the $186,000. Number two, additional compensation. The budget committee recommended $261,000. Our proposed budget included $335,000. So that was $130,000 for an annual stipend to all staff, about $216 per person that would be awarded in December. That was about $130,000 for longevity stipend for people that had been with us during the 4 years of salary freeze. And then it was going to cost us, we project it will cost us $75,000 to implement the new compensation plan to make sure that any of our current staff members are paid no less than new hires. Reduced class size, we couldn't make any progress on that. Gifted teacher, I probably shouldn't have that up there twice, so it is, I included that in the $186,000, but that position was funded, and then the counselor, social worker position was not in the proposed budget. These are the slides that Mr. Roush prepared from last week, so he may want to comment on these as well, but this is just a good summary of our budget revenue and budgeted expenditures. And as he reminded us 2 weeks ago, we estimate high, and then we make adjustments in December that become more realistic numbers. And the highlights. He shared this slide with us last week, or 2 weeks ago as well. The proposed budget is based on 6,000 average daily membership students, which is on the high side. And, we are continuing to grow, so we could reach that number. And remember, that's counting kindergarten students half, and it's also discounting for kids that aren't attending, because nobody has perfect attendance. That's the way the funds flow from the state. Number two, revenue changes. He talked about those revenue changes 2 weeks ago. And then number three, the expenditure increases. We talked about all those last week. The only one that's new is on the last one there. On tonight's agenda is a proposed elementary TOSA position, which actually was a grant-funded position. We tried to figure out a way to not fill that position, but we literally need this position. In my estimation, the board has to make the final decision on that, and that would be the salary range there. So that would, once again, help us make progress on classroom expenditures. And that's all I have, unless Mr. Roush has any additional comments, or if there's any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have any motions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's go to our action items. 7A, discussion of the personnel schedule. And Dr. Chestnut, would that be you today?
It is, because Mr. Beck is at a conference, and be glad to answer any questions you might have on the HR agenda.
Any questions, discussions, motions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item B, discussion and possible approval of the 2015-16 MUSD wellness policy. Hi, Suzette. And we have two, right, proposals. Okay.
Okay, so if you recall, last month when we met, we had discussion about the class parties. And it was decided that I would go back and do a survey. The principals and the teachers get feedback from parents that I rarely hear, so it was good for that suggestion. So the first option that they were given was they would have 4 classroom parties at any time at the teacher's discretion. And as long as that class party stayed within that individual specific class, they could have refreshments that do not meet the nutrition standards, with the option of using food services. And the second option,
Oops.
There you go.
and the second option was they could have as many parties as they wanted. So that's the option B is the one that they want.
That's the one I liked.
Me too.
Mhm.
After speaking with some of the teachers that were here that night, I kind of didn't have a problem with it as long as it stayed in the classroom, because the kids do deserve parties, you know. But I want the option to be available to parents for our department to do it as well, if they would
Mhm.
like that. So I typed up 2 wellness policies with those changes, and you guys can accept or approve whichever one, and that'd be the one we go with.
Are you recommending option B then?
Yes, I am.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
on option B, I highlighted some things that,
Mhm.
just additions to clarify a little bit more. Do you mind if I go over that with
No.
you? Okay. So on the second page where it says national guidelines for all foods on campus, you've bolded on there that this includes all PTO food and beverage sales for the snack rule. After our discussion, I would like to add in there during school hours.
Yeah.
Because it's during, when we met last time, you clarified that during school, all the way to a half hour before and a half hour after.
It's the midnight before to a half an hour after the last
After.
school.
So that whole morning and then a half hour after school. So
Right.
basically during school hours.
Right.
So I just would like to put that in there so that it's clarified, because right now it just says this includes all PTO food and beverage sales.
Okay.
It's on the second page in the second paragraph. That was just a thought.
And-
Because parents need clarification, and I think the more we can state that have that communication,
Right.
the better it will be for.
During school hours. Okay. Yeah, I can add that.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
think
good?
that's yeah, and I have something else on
Okay.
that page if.
I have got 2 other things on that page, and
Oh,
I
okay,
bet it's
go
the same
ahead.
things you
All right,
have.
just want to make sure we don't. Okay.
So the addition is, the change in B is class parties held in an individual classroom by single class may be exempt by teacher's discretion to celebrate birthdays. That's the one that's there.
Mhm.
Okay, so I agree with that. And then my only other suggestion would be in the last paragraph to spell out LEAs,
Oh, okay.
just for any parent who picks it up to read it. So that was my additions on that page. Mrs. Nor, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just had a question. It says, any class party will be held after 2, but elementary schools get out at 1:35 on Wednesdays. So maybe like 2 hours before school's out
Yeah,
or something like
I
that.
thought about that when I was driving here,
Okay.
because the high school, for example.
They
2
get out
o'clock,
at
they're
2:30.
gone.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So I can make that, I meant that to be, so it's at the end of the day. So
Right.
I'll specify the end of the day.
Yeah,
And
2
even
hours
if you
before
put 2
school.
hours,
I would
yeah,
just
2
say
hours
within the
before the
2
end of
hours
school.
of, yeah, whatever would work. Perfect, yeah.
Does that work? Good idea. And on the next page, can we go, I know that the audience doesn't have this, so I apologize, but
It's on the website.
on the next page,
That's page 4.
3.
I don't know,
3.
they're not numbered. 3, page 3.
The one with the physical activity.
Yeah, it has physical activity subtitle, or a subject title. But I just had a question, Suzette, where it says diet soda at the high school. Is that an ADE guideline?
You can have diet soda at the high school.
No, I'm just saying, but, because I know some people, the theory is diet soda is worse than soda with sugar. So is diet soda, is that an ADE guideline? It
Yes.
is, or does it just say
Yes.
soda? Are we adding in diet, or?
We do sell diet soda at the high school.
No, I'm fine with that, I just know some people think it's worse.
Yeah, and I could even sell diet Red Bull.
Really?
They're just looking
Yeah,
at the
it's crazy,
caloric
because
intake,
they're
that's all.
looking at the
Sugar.
calories, they're
Yeah.
not
Okay.
looking at the
Yeah,
nutritional
they're
value.
just looking at calories.
Okay. So, okay, no, that's, if
We don't
that's
sell much of it,
Yeah.
because we sell so many
other
different
stuff, yeah.
drinks, yeah.
No,
But we do
that's
have it
fine.
available.
And on the PE section, the physical activity section in the second paragraph, I just wanted to change it to reflect what our current practice is. So in the second paragraph, in the first sentence, it says, "It is recommended that physical education classes be provided at a minimum of 2 times per week for grades, I just wanted to change that. Currently, it says K-8. We currently have K-6. And then, and meet the district requirement for grades 7 through 12. Because they have it
Yeah.
daily for 7 through 12.
I got this from somebody else
Yeah.
because I don't have anything to do with the physical
Yeah.
activity.
Physical
No,
but it
it's
has-
well-written.
But it has to be in
Yeah.
the wellness policy, but I can change that K-6. And do
Yeah,
you
'cause
want K-6?
It's
and
K-6.
then- And then 7, 8,
Yeah. Do you want my copy? I made changes on it.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
You actually have it in the following paragraph. It actually says down at the bottom that that's a total of 105 minutes per week for students in K-6.
Yeah.
So it's actually
Yeah,
in the
the
second.
recommended thing that's in there, that is from the recommendation from
For physical
USDA.
activity,
Yes,
correct,
yes.
yeah. And then in the fourth paragraph, it says physical education classes will have the same student ratio, teacher ratio used in other classes. I guess my question is more to Dr. Chestnut. Are we prepared to fulfill that at the secondary level? Because I know last year we had class sizes of 50 plus.
Well, we hope it's going to be better this year, but it's still going to probably be an issue, at least in some sections.
So can we strike that out?
I would, I'd say keep it in,
That's a
but-
USDA recommendation, I've got to keep it in there.
it's actually,
Yeah, but we can't fulfill it.
No, but it's
we have
that's
to.
the thing about the wellness policy, is it's something that we're always
Okay.
working on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I know it'll be better at the high school since we've changed the electives around, so I know it's not going to be such a big issue, but I just want to make sure we're prepared to do that. And then the very last sentence says athletics, recess, and/or other classes may not take the place of physical education. Physical education classes will be taught by I would like to insert, right now it says certified instructor. I would like to insert certified physical education instructor. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, and I'll give you my copy.
More specific.
Yes, because certified instructor in what,
Right.
bean counting? That was meant to be funny, Dr. Chestnut.
I know.
Okay. And then the only other one is on the fourth page. Can you spell out SHAC? It's
Sure.
spelled out in some of it, but not in the very first time it appears. It's in under activities to promote student wellness. It's
Sure.
in the last paragraph. Can you just spell that out?
Well, actually, it's in the stakeholder involvement.
I know, but it's the very first time you see it, it's not
Oh,
spelled out.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's all I have. But I did read it,
Good.
and I'll give you this. You can have this.
Did you have a comment?
No, it was only about the,
And the only other thing I'd like to point out, since we're pointing out things,
Yes.
is that the principal, as it states in the wellness policy, and I don't know exactly where it's at, but the principal or someone that he or she designates will be the one that oversees the policy at their site.
Oh, okay. If they need to fill out the paperwork or whatever for,
Yeah, so they know what fundraisers are going on, they know what parties, they know, so that I'm not responsible for. Okay.
party police?
I do have one thing on the wellness committee, or the student health advisory committee. I think it might be valuable to increase the amount of teachers on there, and also maybe add a PTO representative. Just, I think involving people in the process helps to educate people about the policy.
I agree.
And the more people so I think, I would like to strive to have at least one staff member from each school site. However you break that up, it could be a principal from one, a cafeteria worker from another, teacher from another, but at least one staff member from each school site, so at least they could be the lead in their school. Like, what is our wellness policy, or what does this mean? And they know. But then also, maybe increase the teachers, since I think they're the ones who have the most day-to-day contact with it, and then potentially include some PTO members so that they know, they can understand the rules. Because I think, when you get misinformation, then people get upset, and it's
Right,
unnecessary.
right.
So,
Yeah, when I formed the committee, I had to beg people just to,
right.
and so I agree, and we're even suggested by ADE to have a board member on there, so.
Okay. Okay.
when we get ready to meet, I will definitely
Yeah.
let
Sure.
everybody know.
Happy to do it. I appreciate you doing this. I
Yeah.
know it was a big
Yes.
undertaking, and we've had this discussion for the last 4 years, so thank you for bringing that to us and getting it done.
Yes. And I have a question. So, in regards to option B for being the teacher's discretion, being that I have multiple, kids in, some same schools, I can see that as possibly some gray area. Maybe one teacher will allow one thing, and another teacher may be a little different. How would you propose to maybe address? Would that be the principal's responsibility, and I would assume in that school, to address those types
Yeah.
of conflicts? Or, I mean, have you, the committee, thought about that, and maybe addressed,
Well,
what that would look like?
I'm assuming and hoping that when a parent does want to have a party, they contact the teacher, and maybe the teacher let the principal know that there's
Mhm.
some kind of communication there so that
It's
they
smooth.
just don't show up, but I don't know how to answer your question.
Yeah, because my only fear is that one teacher would allow one thing, and then another teacher wouldn't allow the same thing. And then, so especially with parents that have, more than one child in the school, may get that, or, other friends, and, that may create some confusion. And of course, like you said, there's no perfect system, and so I just think that could be a gray area.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think, once
Principals need to
this
be part
policy is all typed up, I'll get this to the principals, we'll talk about it. I would assume that there will be some differences between buildings, but I think most importantly, we'd want to have a uniform system in the building, and I think the principals, and then ride herd on this, and then we'll gather feedback and see where we are after a year.
Yeah, because I'll be back next year with,
More changes
More
from
changes.
ADE, yeah.
More changes and more food.
Yeah, more food.
it has to be, it has to be reviewed every year, so
Yep.
I'll be back.
Fantastic.
Are there any more questions?
Can you share with us one more time? So if I wanted, if I'm a parent and I want to get cookies, what's that process of ordering cookies?
Okay, we're
or
gonna
whatever?
advertise that a little bit better this
Good.
year, and they would either contact the school site cafeteria manager or myself. Just tell us what day and what the child's name is, and we take care of everything.
Okay. And what are the costs?
It's, if you wanna give them cupcakes, it's 75 cents per student, because they get a cupcake and a milk. If you wanna give them cookies, it's 50 cents for a cookie and milk.
Oh, that's
per
cheap.
student.
It's a really good deal.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. I'll do that so I don't get in trouble. So.
And my boys did like the cupcakes.
Good.
And we like the cookies.
The cookies were good.
I know my boys like the cookies too.
So we're gonna go with option
Well,
B.
Oh, we have
that's
to.
what I'm waiting
So-
for, to see if I can get a motion from someone.
I would motion that the governing board accepts option B based upon the survey results
And is amended.
And the
As
proposed,
amended.
yeah, proposed
and
changes.
and with the proposed changes.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Option B it is. Thank you. All right, item C, discussion and possible approval of increase in base salary for the 2015-16 Certified Compensation Plan. Dr. Chestnut?
Very pleased to be able to bring this to your attention tonight and ask for approval. About 2 months ago, Mr. Roush informed us that he thought it was possible that we could increase our base salary because of growth in our Proposition 301 Fund 11. And 301 is divided into 3 pots, and Fund 11 adds to the base salary, and Fund 12 is for performance pay, and then Fund 13 is for additional teaching positions. And so we think that we can sustain this 0.5% increase, and it's not a lot, but any improvement to our base salary is appreciated, and we would recommend approval.
Are there any questions, discussion? Motions?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yay! All right. Item D, discussion and possible approval of changing the date of the 9/19 regularly scheduled governing board meeting. I did a little bit of research on that, and we had actually taken it off.
Yeah.
But somehow it just missed the schedule. But back on our meeting back in April, we actually had talked about taking it off, and then if we needed a second meeting, that we would schedule it at a later date. So at this point, I don't think there's anything that is needed for this agenda item, since it's really not on the schedule anyway.
Good.
But Lisa, you'll get an amended schedule? Okay, thank you. All right. Item E. Possible approval to adjourn to executive session pursuant to ARS 38431 for discussion or consultation for legal advice from the board's attorney regarding 1, the TOSA position at Saddleback Elementary School, and 2, proposed superintendent's contract and related performance plan for July 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2017.
Motion to approve to go into executive session to discuss contracts and TOSAs.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are in executive session. It's 7:15. All right, it's 7:36, and we are back in open session, and we are at item F. Discussion and possible approval to continue TOSA position at Saddleback Elementary School.
I would like to motion the approval to continue the TOSA position at Saddleback Elementary School.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Felicia's
Congratulations,
smiling
Felicia.
back there.
She's going,
She's about to do the happy dance.
where's your happy dance? Come on, you're on TV.
Next item, item G, discussion and possible approval of superintendent's contract from July 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2017.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
No, I'm smiling, thank you.
There we go.
Where's
You
your
gotta do your happy dance too.
Yeah.
Item H, discussion and possible approval of superintendent's performance pay plan, July 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2017.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Where's the happy dance?
I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And last item, 8, adjournment.
All motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries at 7:37.